6. Hope everyone's having a great and blessed week. Just giving it a few minutes for others to join, to get connected through Facebook, YouTube. Make sure we have all our viewers in tune for episode 56. As always, I hope everyone receives a good message today. That's the whole purpose of our live, which we're on weekly every Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 7:30 p.m. Central Time, and 5:30 p.m. Pacific Time, West Coast. It's been quite a journey, as I've mentioned. In the past, we've been... Hope you're having a good day. Blessed week at that. Hope all is well. We've been discussing multiple topics, not missing whatever we receive from the Lord is what we bring onto the platform. It's really that simple. It's not easy to... What's going on, big bro? All right.
What's going on, little bro?
The only way we bring a message onto our platform is if we receive it from up above. Any thought that comes to mind, I treat it like a signal. If there's something that comes to mind, it's because someone's going through it. Someone's definitely going to relate to the message, and it has to be put out because, again, we can't keep nothing to ourselves. Not the blessings, not the messages, not anything that helps us get through in life, get out of a situation. We have to discuss it openly. We have to make this normal, make these conversations which heal others normal. Not be ashamed of what you're going through, not be ashamed of what you're feeling. We put our testimonies out. We've received testimonies, many testimonies throughout the lives. And the most important thing is to be united, to be connected, to help each other grow, to help each other heal, to help each other just keep going, and making sure that no one in your circle or even out of your circle, whoever you come across, whoever you know, not give up. Because we all know we're living in interesting times right now. It's really tough. But as long as we help one another, it should make the process not fun, of course, but a lot smoother to get through, to push through those obstacles. And we're very big on that, big bro. Like, we've mentioned it multiple times, man. Like, help one another, help the next person. Don't be so selfish. You can be selfish in your own ways, but when it comes to helping others heal, there should be nothing selfish about it, because you never know when you're going to need the help, when you're going to need the advice, the suggestion. And I've been in many situations where I think it's safe to say, not that it was intentional for me to keep these things to myself, but I have. And what was I really doing with that blessing? What was I doing with that experience? What was I doing with that situation? The outcome, right? The lessons. Whatever I learn, I want to make sure that the next person can learn from, right? If there's anything that you can help the next person avoid, why not? I'm telling you, it's as simple as putting a testimony out. You never know who wants to listen or who needs to listen to that testimony, to that great message. You never know what a person is going through. You never know what the person... There's a lot of people out there calling out for help indirectly, indirectly. And this world just needs to take a huge turn, man, for the better, and of course, we're unable to control the whole world, but at least with the little things that we do on this platform, which we've received feedback on how it's been a major impact, it's the way to start, right? It's the way to start. If we can do it by people, right? If we can bring these messages to people, then that person can bring it to the next. And little by little, we can see some change, right? We can see more empathy, more sympathy in this world, like, for people to feel for others, and not be so harsh, because that's exactly what we're seeing nowadays. especially with how the economy is right now and how it's been for the past few months. I would say maybe even what, a year or so. Um, it's been pretty hectic out there, you know. And whatever goes on in the world, best believe a lot of people live like, oh, they won't be affected by it, or those are their problems. Eventually, it'll make its way into your community. Those problems will make its way into your community. We see what's happening with the economy, right? So there's violence taking place, right? Crimes uh, skyrocketed. Crimes are up high. Why do you think? Because the economy is not so great. There's people losing jobs. There's people without jobs, right? And then we just finished getting through a whole pandemic, and that didn't help, right? In the beginning, it was like, oh, we're all united. We saw how well we saw a few situations during the pandemic, which was truly sad, right? Fights over toilet paper, um, the limiting of supplies, right? Uh, what was the other? The baby formula, the shortage of baby formula, and how people were fighting over these things. Um, and
Hmm.
they were really just thinking about themselves, survival of the fittest. That's what I saw. That's what I saw. That's exactly what
Facts.
it
That's what it
was.
was.
But then after a while, you started seeing like how a few, you'll see a few groups were united. They were more open. They were more practicing empathy, right? They were like, no, we have to help each other, because if we don't do it for ourselves, who's going to do it for us? And that's exactly what we're promoting with our platform. Our platform is made of a whole bunch of experiences. It's made up of many conditions. You name it, depression, anxiety, you name it, you name it. And I think enough is enough. Enough is enough. And I know it's nearly impossible, once again, to change the world, but we start by giving that message to you, bringing that message to groups, hoping that those groups will receive and go ahead and push it on to the next person, express themselves more often, changing the way that they think, the way that they are. We're all about promoting good, stable mental health, stability, mental health. It's all about improving. It's all about growing, developing. It's not about destroying each other, which is what we're trying to avoid here. We already see enough destruction taking place in our communities. We see enough destruction taking place in our children's schools. We see it in our workplace. We see it everywhere. So why not go against the grain of society? Why not be the one to make things different? Why not be the one to um, just influence, good influence, to the point where others see exactly what our vision is, what our goal is, and that they're able to join. It doesn't have to be directly with us, but it can actually be even on their own, where they can just, wake up and say, hey, I want to do things different. I don't want to feel this way. I don't want this other person to feel this way. I want to make a huge change in this world, a huge impact. What is it that I can do? Should I get on a live? Should I start writing more? Should I start putting my content out? Should I put my thoughts out? Should I stop feeling ashamed of who I was, ashamed of what I'm going through, ashamed of what I've done? It's time to forgive yourself. It's time to forgive others. If there's an apology that needs to be, go ahead, apologize. Don't wait till tomorrow. We understand it's not that easy. And I'm not just talking about apologies. What I'm talking about is to make those changes. It may take a few hours. It may take a day. It may take a few weeks, months, whatever it is. But as long as you're working towards making it happen, is what really matters. We've all been there. I've dealt with procrastination. You know what I'm saying? I've been one to say I'm going to do something, and it took me weeks to get it done. But there's other things that I'll get done in hours, minutes. When I finally decided to be different, to be myself, that took me a while. It wasn't so much the decision to be different, but it was more to feel comfortable with being myself, no matter what others were thinking or saying. Because we have to be honest, we come from environments, from communities where we grew up a certain way because of what we saw growing up, because of what we saw others go through, because of what we thought was right. And all along, we've been wrong in many of our areas in our lives. The way we are, the way we think, the way we speak, the way we react, which is very important, our decision making, our timing. And when I say timing, just in general, we come from places where we worship a position, a title, a company over God and ourselves. Because I've been there. So I'm just speaking from experience. Again, I'm just being transparent out here. We come from a place where there's a lot of things we consider normal, and it's truly not. There's things that we want, but we forget about what exactly we need. And because of this, we've been dealing with so much backfire. We've been dealing with unnecessary situations. But at the end, no matter what you've been dealing with, in or out, internal or external, that doesn't defeat the fact that you're still here today. You're much wiser, wisdom, the lessons you've learned. So there's no reason for you to regret, no matter where you come from. We come from a place where we used to think that it was too late to get things done because we're supposed to have things figured out by early 20s, maybe mid 20s. At 30, we're supposed to be married. Right after marriage, that's when we have kids. We come from a place where we've thought so many things. And again, we've been wrong. So now, what is it when I said backfire? We're now reversing many things that we've learned in the past. And that's a full-time job. And that's draining emotionally. That'll drain you mentally. And sometimes even financially if you're not careful. How can those things drain you financially? Well, if you're not feeling good about yourself or your situation or who you were and what you are now, and because you haven't accomplished X amount of goals or whatever, you might be turning towards substance. Substances cost. You might be partying a little too much. You might be doing things that are disconnecting you from reality. Which in return, all you're doing is delaying your blessings ahead. Because once again, it's never too late to turn around and make things different. Financially, because you don't feel good about you, who you are, and yet you feel like you have to possess jewelry. You have to purchase jewelry. You have to buy a 2023 vehicle, whatever your favorite car is, whatever that car is, just to be accepted. You're basically purchasing status. If I have this car, if I have jewelry, if I have this Gucci belt, or if I have this shirt that's trending now, that's how I'm going to gain respect. That's how people are going to pay attention to me. That's how people are going to know I'm the one. That's how they're going to know, oh, he's doing it. He's doing it big. It's time to settle that aside. We see the times that we're living in. We see what we're going through economically. And for those who got it, bless, super blessed, and we can learn so much from them. But for those who are pretending like they got it, we got a message for you. It's time to stop. For those who are pretending that they're okay, it's time to stop. For those who are pretending that they've healed, it's time to stop. Putting too much energy towards pretending, too much energy towards fantasy, too much energy towards a world that you've created in your mind, which is separating you from the real world, reality, the real you. It's time to stop. It is time to stop. And I've been on both sides, and I'm super blessed to be on the side that I belong, which is real. I've discussed many times in the past when I've pretended. I've discussed many times in the past when I've delayed and blocked blessings because I wasn't focused on what I was going through in that moment because I was too busy covering things up. How do you expect to have room for growth if all else is taking up room in your life? How are you expecting to grow if you're filling up your space with all that stuns and delays your growth? Which means face it. Face whatever you're feeling. Face whatever you're going through. Face the truth. But it's never too late to turn around. If you've been pretending all along, you don't have to do that. No longer. You don't have to do that. It's time to face it. It's time to be you. It's time to fix your situation. If your situation has to do with mental, emotional, spiritual, it's never too late to get it right, to work on your finance. If you've been working all these years, but you've always wanted to start a side hustle, a business, then do it. Nothing is stopping you. We only live once. You would obviously want to educate yourself. You would obviously want to make sure that you do things the right way. But your whole life, you've been making decisions and doing things without even thinking about that. So why not do it on the right path? The same way you've been experiencing so much in your life up until this point, why not put yourself in a situation where you will grow multiple ways? Set fear aside. Set that shame aside. And make it happen. Now, with all that said, I feel like this is it's very important what I'm about to say right now. Keep in mind who you've been keeping around, who you've been talking to. Keep in mind who's your go-to for support. Where's that love and care coming from? Whether it's friends, family, a mentor, whatever the case is. Have you taken the time to reevaluate the people around you? The same way you have to reevaluate your life, reevaluate what you've done, where you've been, where you are today. Have you taken the time to reevaluate who you have moving forward? Because the people you hang around basically sums up what your future's going to look like. And I'm sure many of us have heard that phrase, right? Show me who your friends are, and I can tell you what your future's like. Because at the end of the day, it's all about who we keep around, what it is that we do on our day-to-day, how we face our obstacles and our situations. Because if we face them, we're going to find solutions. If we disregard disregard them, all we're going to do is block and delay all the blessings that are ahead of us. What have you been dealing with up until this point that has not released you from the old you, from the old habits, from the old thoughts, the old beliefs? Have you given yourself the opportunity to start all over? And by starting all over, that may mean moving. That can also be not putting up with certain things anymore. Once again, making those changes for the better. And moving forward, it's very important to have the right people that you can actually talk to. The people that are going to give you the advice you need, any suggestions, the people that are going to not distract you, but the time that they give you or you give them is going to be so valuable to the point where you see yourself building your future, building their future, helping one another. And little by little, this is how we grow, right? Many of us have best friends, right? We have close friends, we have family. Others have networks where they discuss anything with no shame, no filter, and they're going to receive raw exactly what they need to hear to overcome, to move on to the next level, to push through those obstacles, to break patterns, routines. How many of us have people that we call today and they're discussing people? They're discussing what happened yesterday. Oh, let me put you on to what happened. You heard, did you see that fight? Did you hear about the argument? Where's that going to take you? Nowhere. What we need is contacts that we can actually call and discuss anything, any problems you may have, anything you need to overcome. If you're in a tight situation, people that can come through and help you find solutions. If you're in a dark place, people that shed light into your darkness, so you'll never find yourself in a dark place. People that can guide you on getting out of the lies, the traps that the enemy has been setting up for us all along. And big bro, I received this message today because I was thinking heavy, what direction to take. And as soon as I received, I knew this was the right topic to hit today. And I'm sure there's many that need to hear it. And before I pass it on to you, big bro, anyone who's listening right now that feels that there's someone that needs to hear this message, they need to listen to this message, or they'll relate, you have the option to share the live via direct message. You'll see the paper plane on the bottom right corner. Make sure you send it to as many contacts as you have as possible. Anyone you feel like needs to hear it, or just send it randomly. Anyone that wants to join the live, please feel free to do so. I'll be more than happy to get you on, because your testimony is as good as ours. This platform, once again, is not ours, Pastor Carlos and I alone. It is yours as well, to speak freely, to set the fear. Don't be ashamed. Speak let it all out, because this is what people need more of. I want whatever weight you have on your shoulders to be removed by anything that needs to be discussed. If there's people that don't want to listen to you, that's fine. You have two on this screen right now that will listen. You have viewers on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, listening to you. And you never know the major blessing you can bring on others by simply discussing or adding on to a topic. For those who have a question that they would like for us to answer, or they want to drop a statement, but they want to keep it anonymous, you have the option on the bottom right corner. You have the bubble with the question mark. Feel free to drop that message, drop that question, and we'll be more than happy, to the best of our knowledge, to give you the answer or add on to that statement. Passing it on to you, Big Bro.
No, I think it's absolutely crazy, but it's not unexpected, because I see this all the time. When the Lord gives a direction in terms of a topic, whether it's a preaching that you're doing, whether it's a conversation that you're having, like what we're doing right now, and it kind of, similar to a podcast style and everything like that, it normally holds weight, because you'll start to see that the Lord moves numerous people to discuss the exact same thing, without ever talking about it. Again, those that rock with us every week already know we don't discuss what we're going to talk about, for the very sole purpose that we want to make sure that we're avoiding any influence, right? We want the Holy Spirit to go ahead and be the one to guide each one of us in terms of the direction that we're wanting to go to. And it just turns out that, the download ends up being, not always the same, because sometimes I might not get it, or Jay Mejia might not get it, but one of us gets it, and then the download comes in that moment, in terms of like something else that maybe was, discussed during the week, or was preached during the week, or whatever, how it perfectly ties into it, even though it's not the exact same subject. This week is one of those weeks that the subject is the exact same, and I'm going to share why right now. Last night I had a preach with our youth that essentially touched upon a number of the different subjects that Jay Mejia talked about right now. And the main subject that I have to touch upon, and it's also going to be something that I'm going to preach on this Sunday, is the fact that, speaking of the Christian church as a whole, for the most part, there are exceptions, but speaking of the Christian church as a whole, there's not that genuine love for one another. And as a result of that, we see the repercussions that, like, we're far from being what the original early churches were like. Okay. Why is that important? A direction that the Lord took me with that was that there has to be a significant change. But when you talk about a culture that has built up, and here I'm not just talking about the church, I'm talking about in general. When a culture has been built up, a lot of times what happens is that it becomes very difficult to break the culture that's out there. Okay. So I want you to understand, breaking the culture is not something that's easy, because it means that when it's a culture, if you wake up, because Jay Mejia brought the perfect thing, it's time to change, it's time to wake up. When you choose to wake up, you're going to have a bunch of people looking at you like you're the crazy one. Like, what is this person doing? Why? Because it's not the status quo. It's not the norm. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, we have gotten into a zone right now that everybody is about themselves. I love that sparkle, by the way. It's beautiful. Oh, man. I can't hear you. You're muted, I think.
I apologize, man. I'm not sure what happened there, but hey.
Don't worry. It was beautiful. I love it. May the Lord's face shine upon you. You know, no, but going back to things, um, when you have to break that culture, you're the one that's seen weird. And when we look at the culture right now, the culture is all about yourself, right? What's a career every one of these pretty much every youth and young adult wants to get into right now? Social media influencer. Why? Because it means the attention's on them. Most of them, when they say influencer, it's not let me give you a testimony of of how things can be better for you. It's look at me, be like me. It's all about me, right? There was a time not so long ago when you think about it, right? In which people cared about each other. Even and mind you, this is even when like crime rates were high, in numerous places, right? There was still a genuine care and love, because what would happen was there would be crime, really high crime, but communities would be together. I want you guys to understand this. This wasn't a long time ago, okay? But things nowadays have fast forwarded into an era in which we've got it filled with it's all about me, and the pride is at an all-time high. First of all, the pride of I got to be doing better than everybody else. It's about me. What am I going to get? What am I doing? That's a pride issue. But also the pride of, I got to do this. I got to do me, right? And I can't have nobody else belittle me, okay? Check it out. There used to be a time not long ago where somebody moved into the neighborhood, right? When we're talking about like suburbs, somebody moved into the neighborhood, the subdivision, and the neighbors would come talk to each other, or the person who moved in would go talk to the neighbors and introduce. This was something that made things very personable, so that you had an idea of who was living next to you, right? That would do what? It would, number one, introduce, and number two, begin to establish a relationship. That doesn't mean that you established a friendship. That meant that you established a relationship, right? One of the things that sounds so corny, but it was so true, mind you, and this didn't matter if you were, if you moved in the building, it would be similar. If you moved in an apartment building, it'd be the same thing. It would be a thing of like, oh, I haven't seen you before. Like, you move in, whatever. And the conversation would start, right? Fast forward, now we don't see that. Somebody moves in, I don't need anybody to know who I am, right? I don't need to build relationships with anybody. In fact, in different settings, workplace settings, school settings, I mean, that's a very tough barrier for people to break. They just don't do it. It's not something that's easily done. And even still, what I've seen recently that people call relationships, there's no conversation. There's this. So there's no real communication. And you can say, no, but I'm texting. That's not real personable communication. You don't get to understand the nuances of the person's tone of voice, the way they speak, all those different things that make them them. The way that the Lord made them. You don't get to see those details, right? So here's what happens when you don't build relationships. Back in the day, somebody would come and be like, yo, what was the most corny thing? Yo, can I borrow a cup of sugar, right? Neighbor would go ahead and lend you, would let you have some sugar for whatever you were making in your house, right? Corny example, but it's the truth. It's the truth, right? But nowadays, you don't have anybody asking for anything for the most part, right? Because it ends up being a thing of, I could do it myself. That's pride. And that's not building a community, because if I feel comfortable enough to go to you and be like, yo, man, to save me that trip to the supermarket, you don't happen to have a little bit of milk, right? I'm making these pancakes and it turns out I don't have any milk. I just need like just a cup of milk. I got the measuring thing right here. If you feel, if I feel comfortable coming to you and you're like, oh yeah, sure, no thing. I mean, it's not a big thing, just milk, whatever, right? Guess what? The day that you need to save yourself a trip to the supermarket, you might feel comfortable enough to come over and be like, yo, can you lend me a tablespoon of oil? Can you let me, can I get an egg real quick? I'm miscalculated something or whatever. I didn't realize we were out. I forgot to do it on my shopping list. It's not saying that you're going to feed somebody an entire meal, but you build this, this person, this personable relationship where somebody can be like, okay, they feel comfortable enough to come ask me as a neighbor for this, right? So you might be like, nah, but it's different now in the apartment building, or it's different now in the neighborhood. Okay. Yesterday I did a poll with our youth at our church, and I asked them with a show of hands, not just talking about our church, but talking about any church that they've ever been to. Our church has, is new enough where we don't have that many homegrown members, right? Most people came from other churches, right? So everybody has experienced this in other churches. I asked a question of, in any church setting that you've ever been in, have you ever felt that when you knew that your family had a need, you knew that your family was going through some difficulty, maybe financially, mentally, health-wise, whatever, right? Or your family decided to open a business. Your dad decided to open a business. Your mom decided to open a business, and you got a lawn cutting company. You got you got landscaping company. You got your mom maybe decided to cook. Your dad maybe does roofing or whatever, like a whole different host of businesses. In any of these cases that I mentioned, I asked the question, how many have you felt that the church itself cared about what your family was going through? 10%. Asking 10%, that at least 10% of the people in the church, of whatever church you've ever been in, cared truly about what your family was going through and how they could help. How many felt that the community, because a church is a community, right? That the community of your church supported your family's small business, your mom's small business, your dad's small business. Some of these kids have even turned out to be entrepreneurs recently. How many of them have supported, number one, that your business is out there, but have honestly tried to see how they can support your business? I said, we had about 15 kids yesterday, right? I asked, how many of y'all have felt that 10% of the people in your congregation that you've ever been in, you truly had that support in any one of those instances that I mentioned? Again, launching a business and being a patron of the business, your family had health issues, your family had, financial issues, your family just had needs overall, right? They were struggling and they made it known. Out of about 15 kids, 3 of them raised their hands when I said 10%. When I said 20%, it was still about the same 3. When I said 50%, 1 extra person raised their hand. I want you to think about this. This was people that have been in our congregation, is about 100 people. The congregations that they were in before, some of them came from congregations of almost 1,000 people. 50% is 500, but let's take of 1,000, right? But let's say of 100, it's 50 people. They were like, nope. 5% of 100 would be 5 people. That's maybe why it's a little bit more passable. But once we get into 1,000, 5% of 1,000 is only 50 people. And those bigger congregations, they were like, no, I don't feel like 50 people came to support our businesses or came to really care about us. You see the culture shift? The thing is, if that's happening in a church, what could you expect from a community that's around you, that's not church related? Because we should be seeing the love of Christ in a congregation. And people no, think about this. Christ cared about the needs of others. You know what I'm saying? The early church, I say this again, not Christ, but the early church cared about the needs of others. So much so, I'm going to read to you guys what the word says in the book of Acts, chapter 2. It says, now all who believed were together and all had things in common, and they sold their possessions and goods, and they divided them among all as anyone had needed. So however people had need, they figured that out and started to make sure that nobody lacked. You see what I'm saying? We are far removed from that. So far removed from that. First and foremost in the church, but then we're far removed from that outside of church in a normal setting where the world's pretty much all about itself and has degrees of pride and has degrees of you know, it's all about me and hatred and all this other stuff. That's the point in which we're at, and we need to start making a change. Problem is, nobody wants to make a change. We got to ask our question, why, right? And the thing is, everybody makes excuses as to, oh, but it's because of whatever, so that they can continue to do what they're doing. But you got to ask yourself, how do we get to that point? I'm here to tell y'all tonight, the enemy he's got a stronghold everywhere. He's got a stronghold in households. He's got a stronghold in workplaces. He's obviously got a stronghold in schools with all the shootings and all the bullying and all that stuff. Got a stronghold in friendships, and even has a stronghold in the majority of churches out there. And you want to know what those strongholds look like, bro? I'll give you an example. If you have a need, right? I'm going to go back to the church. You know why? And this has been confirmed because I asked this. I polled people on this, okay? If you have a need, how many of y'all feel comfortable asking somebody for help? Like, you've gotten to the point that you can't do it on your own, right? I'm going to the dire need. How many of y'all are willing to ask for help? I had almost nobody raise a hand, bro. When I asked the reason why, you want to know the reason why? The number one reason why, and tell me this ain't right. And if anybody feels this in the chat, they can go ahead and do that. I don't feel comfort in telling anybody what I'm going through or a need, with the exception of very, very, very few people, because I know that if I mention to almost anybody what my need is or what my struggle is right now, everybody's going to know about it. Now, I asked the question. If somebody comes to you, confides in you, and says, yo, I'm really going through it right now. I'm having suicidal thoughts, or I feel like I'm suffering depression, or I've got anxiety issues, or man, I keep having these panic attacks, or man, I'm just suffering with this insomnia, or you know what, I'm really going through it financially and I'm not sure what I'm going to eat, or whatever any of these things are, right? If somebody came to confide in you that, what would be the purpose? What would be the goal, the objective of somebody telling you that and you going and telling anybody else? What would the goal be, your end game, in going and telling multiple people about what this person came to tell you? Right? It's got to be one of two things. And I think that the amount of hands raised would be very different if this was the case. End game number one would be, I'm going to talk to as many people as I can so that we can get things together to help this person, right? Show that we got a community here to come together and truly, honestly help this person. I'm not talking about one person or two people. Many of us have one or two people that will help us, right? Through whatever the situation is, whatever we're going through. They'll lend an ear. They'll lend financially. They'll spend time talking to us, whatever. But the thing is, if you're going to multiple people, have we gotten to the point that you're gathering all these people up to help? Or is the conversation more of, and I'm not saying anybody that's connected with us here tonight, but I'm talking about as a people, right? Christian or not? Or is the end game more of, you know what Jamie he is going through right now? Don't tell nobody, but I heard that dude is really going through it financially, yo. I think he might be making some bad decisions financially or something, but I know he's going through it financially. Or, you know what? I heard that he having some problems at home with the family, you know? If you go tell anybody about that without the end game being, let's see how we can help them, what's the goal? And I'll tell you exactly what the goal is. It's to put gossip out there. What's the purpose of gossip? Gossip has no purpose that's positive, right? Somebody I know brought it, put it very fun in a really funny way. When we about to eat a meal, we want the meal to go good, right? So we go, God bless this meal, right? When we go do something with work or make an investment or whatever, we go and we pray, yo, Lord, bless this investment, bless this move I'm about to make, right? Bless my family. Let's go through all the things. Bless my health, bless my this, bless my that. If gossip is something that you shouldn't be trying to abstain from, I want to ask a question. How many of y'all would be like, Lord, please bless this gossip that I'm about to go put out there right now? Not nobody would do it because you sound foolish. That sounds like the dumbest thing ever because you know you're wrong, right? The problem is that that's not just what has infiltrated the church, but that's what's infiltrated communities too. And that's what's infiltrated social media. The biggest trending topics on social media always have something to do with gossip. Always. They have to do with violence. They have to do with making fun of somebody. They have to do with somebody's downfall or bad situation or bad moment, right? Don't believe it? Go look at who goes viral, right? When Will Smith smacked Chris Rock, how long did that take to go viral? Right? Everybody in their mom texting, yo, did you see what happened? Putting it on Twitter, sharing the memes, DMing the memes, putting it on their story because it was funny, supposedly, right? This is not just talking about celebrities. This is a thing that we're seeing day to day today. And the question is, what are we doing to change that? And the thing is, if you were to make a decision, many of us, to go and try and change it, most of us don't want to do it. You know why? Because we want to partake of the things of this world, or we don't want to be seen as a person who's not following the trend, who's not following where everybody else is falling in line. The word says, and I believe it was Jesus that said it himself, that Satan was the god of this world. He also said that we're not of this world, right? We shouldn't follow the customs of this world. So when we are doing things that are not being done to edify, build up anybody, I now ask the question, who do you think is behind it? And the worst part today, bro, and I'm gonna pass it to you, is that we have gotten to the point, not just in our communities, but in our churches, that we just figure this is normal. Like, this is how things should be, are always going to be. It's just what people do, right? There's nothing we can do to stop it. Okay, you might not be able to stop it, but you can choose to not participate. And when multiple people, you know, it's so funny because we listen to the dumbest things, right? For example, every vote counts. Everyone matters. You can make that change when it comes to stuff like politics. But when it comes to, yo, if you stop, you're going to stop being, you're going to take yourself out as the domino in that chain. And let's all continue to take ourselves out. Let's start having compassion. Let's start having empathy. Let's start going and stopping, the gossip. Let's go and really help our brother and sister. Let's go and do this. Let's go and do that. All these things. Let's go build people up. Let's go give them that word. Let's go talk to them about what God says about them. Let's go spread the gospel. Let's go put hands on them and pray over them. Let's go do all these things that would build people up in a positive way. Most people will tell you, right? Number one, most people won't respond. They'll just leave it at that. Number two, most people will tell you this is normal, right? And in reality, most people, number three, don't want to change because deep down, they like what they're doing. They like being part of the gossip. They like feeling superior to somebody else. But heaven forbid the moment comes when you have the need. You sure would wish that things were different. How can you expect things to be different if none of us are ever making the change for things to be different so we can break the chain? The enemy is in everything right now. If you haven't put God in your marriage, the enemy's there. You might not see the evident signs of it, but he's there waiting to see how he can influence things and get his way in that, right? If God ain't in schools, well, we already saw the result, right? But that's just coincidences because that's normal. That's what we live in now. We should just get used to it, right? Right? Supposedly. If God's not in your workplace, bro, how much friction we see in workplaces? People trying to one up each other and do people wrong. You know, some of us have gone through that, where somebody to lift their status up is doing some stuff real side-handed, underhanded, you know, backhanded, every which way handed to level themselves up and bring somebody else down, right? And most people don't want to listen to it. Most people don't want to hear it. But this is not me saying it. The very word of God backs it up because it says it. The enemy is in our churches. It is what it is. And if the enemy is in all these different places, you got to ask who opened the door, who has allowed him to be there, who has entertained him. And in all those instances that I just gave each and every one of you, if you haven't done your part to shut it down, you're part of the reason that the door has been opened, has remained open. And we have to start making that change, and making that change means that we have to feel comfortable that when people look at you funny, have a comment against you because you're trying to be different, for you to be like, so what? I don't care. You got to be ready to deal with the backlash. And that's where I end with it. Most people don't want to make the change because they don't want to deal with the backlash. We have family members that don't want to tell their family members how things really are because they don't want to deal with the backlash. Friends that won't tell their friends what's up because they don't feel that they've gotten the support or whatever, or it's a real friendship, or they feel it's one-sided. They won't say what is on their mind because they don't want to deal with the backlash. You got pastors that won't tell people in their congregation what they need to change because they don't want to deal with the backlash, and they don't want to deal with the loss of funds because they know that if they deal with the backlash, people are going to bounce, and they feel, let's just keep the peace and keep the money flowing because they're afraid that what the Lord told them to go and correct in their people, in their flock, that they won't do it because they're afraid of what will happen. And the list can go on and on and on and on and on. We don't have that genuine love. And I'm not talking about people that are on this live. You may feel the conviction. If you feel the conviction, that's good, because the conviction that the Holy Spirit is giving you means that you're recognizing that a change needs to happen in you, and you are that new creation that the Lord's making, which in you, he will make that transformation, and you're going to have a genuine love of people that will allow you to make that change and be one of those people that will stop, the domino effect and break the chain on your end. But we need to do this in mass. And we are at the point in which people have to stop feeling comfortable. The Lord is bringing us into a season in which the ones who are going to be successful are going to be the people that get out of their comfort zone. Because you know who probably sets up comfort zones in many cases? The enemy. And you know why the enemy sets up a comfort zone? Because if you feel comfortable, you will not question anything. Instead, you'll be stuck in his matrix. Let me ask you how that's working for you. How's your life going? I'm not talking about things being perfect, but are there things robbing your peace? Because some of y'all believe that you're in a great relationship, but you don't feel at peace. Some of y'all feel that you're in a great workplace, but you don't feel at peace. Some of y'all feel that your financial money game is good, but you're not at peace. Some of y'all feel that things are going great with your kids, but you're not at peace. Some of y'all are like, oh, I feel so comfortable at your church, but there's something that's robbing your peace. Or something that you see wrong in any of these situations where you're like, yo, something's wrong here. But because of your comfort zone and where you're afraid that you will go, or what you'll find when you move forward into something else, you don't even want to bother asking the Lord where he wants to take you or what he wants you to do, how he wants to use you, because you know that it means that it's going to mean you being uncomfortable. And there's a difference between you being uncomfortable but having peace and you being comfortable and having no peace, or finding a lack of peace in numerous places and things that you're in. We got to make a change, bro, because things are not looking up. And those that really want to see a change, those are that are willing to have that happen, to be part of it. Those people that are willing to get out their comfort zones, I believe those are the people that the Lord is showing are going to be moving forward, because they are trusting that he is going to bring them peace outside of their comfort zone. The question is, where do you want to be? Do you want to be where you're comfortable, or do you want to be where the Lord is? You might find comfort where the Lord is, right? Like you might find yourself in a good situation where the Lord is, but a lot of times you might find yourself in a period of transition where things might not go so well at first. But you can find peace there, even still. I don't know where people are going to be at, bro. And unfortunately, I think there's a lot of people that are going to be like, I prefer to stay in the Matrix. You remember? They would tell people, what was it in the movie The Matrix? They would tell people, one of the things that I remember Morpheus said in The Matrix was, I always like to go back to the movies because sometimes, man, they give you things that are like, yo, it's just so real. You don't realize it, but it's so real. But he said, we don't free minds after a certain age because they have a tough time accepting it, Some of y'all are having a tough time accepting what I'm telling you right now because you know that it means you need to die in that area. You need to die to what you're used to in yourself in that area. But what does the word say? You have to die to yourself and be born again. You want to be born again, but you don't want to die. That's where we're at. You want to be born again, or you want to see something new, or you want to see the blessings, but you do not want to deal with the death that needs to come of whatever it is that's stopping you from receiving that. That's the key. And the Lord won't bring something new in a lot of cases if you don't let what's not working, what's not from him, die. This is going to sound a little gross, but I don't know. Have you ever been really sick, really congested, that your throat is so like full of like phlegm that when you have to spit it out, you feel like a pain because it's like that phlegm is being yanked out? That is what the situation is like. You don't want to let go of something because you know that is so ingrained, so deep inside of you, that yanking it out is going to hurt. But you want to feel better after. But you don't want to let go of the junk that's inside of you. We need to, as a people, bro, whether you're Christian or not, let go of the junk, let go of the pride, let go of the things that are not working, and go towards the things that God wants to set up for you, because that's where you're going to find the blessing. And for many of us, that's going to require change. Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to die to yourself? Are you willing to be born again? Are you willing to go with everything that goes in that package? Jay Mejia and me can't do that for you. And guess what? The Lord himself gives free will and does not force you to do it. Just don't be surprised with what comes with your choice if you choose to deny it. It is what it is. I'll leave it to you, bro.
That was good. And I want to go ahead and keep running on making those changes, because I know a lot of people ask themselves, how can I start making this change, right? Because people make the change, but then they find it difficult because they just feel strange. What is this person going to think? What is this person going to say? But most of the time, isolation is not good. We all know that. But most of the time, you would have to isolate yourself from certain people or groups in order for you to be reborn into the new you, into a new situation, into new habits, into new thoughts. Your whole vision changes, right? Your whole mental state, just in general, emotionally, you'll become different. Now, how are you going to make those changes? It's hard to isolate, but you have to do it. Some people are so used to doing things in groups, you have to disconnect. And by disconnecting and isolating yourself, you're going to start building confidence. You're going to start being comfortable with yourself, with you. You're going to be more independent and not so dependent on others, right? Because a lot of people, again, they're used to being in groups. Believe it or not, once again, this may sound selfish here, right? But there's nothing selfish about it, because it's to a certain limit. Stop falling or texting people. And you'll see who's going to end up calling or texting you back to check on you. And those are the ones, you know, to keep around. That's the process of elimination, right? That makes your whole process easy. Not saying that you're just going to depend on people calling you and that's how you're going to pop up and show up. No, just stop, give yourself time, because that person or those people who call or text you to check on you, they're obviously going to be concerned. And you'll be able to tell who really cares and who doesn't. Who are the ones that want to keep you around because they really care about you and they want to see you get better. They want to see you grow. They want to support the decisions you made to get to the point where you want to be in life in general, versus the other people who miss you because you've been extremely beneficial. They've been benefiting from your presence, you know, but has that been doing you any good? Not at all. You'll separate the real from the fake. You'll separate the real from the fake. And best believe, once again, stop the call, stop the texting, and you'll see who's going to call or text you to check on you. Because remember, there's people out here who want to keep you around because, you know, that's my drinking buddy. They want to keep you around because that's the person that I discuss people with, and, you know, all my gossip, but nothing productive. So now you're tired because those conversations are draining you. So what are you still doing there? That is a sign to isolate yourself. You know what? I got to stay away from this person and see the difference, how you feel not having those type of conversations, not having those type of moments where, you know, you're drinking to black out, where you're enjoying the drinks, but then unable to function the next day. You know, cloudy thoughts. After you have a few drinks, you're experiencing depression, anxiety, and a whole bunch of conditions. It's not doing you any good. So guess what? You have every single reason to remove yourself. You have every single reason to stay away from that person, or to pause or stop those conversations, because it's time for you to give time for you. It's time for you to go from the old you into the new you. But how are you going to do that? By making the changes necessary. The necessary changes to get to where you want to be in general. And I'm sure many of us have been there. Many of us have been there. I remember when I first started, like, you know, changing here and there, even though I went through relapse multiple times, was when I started going to restaurants by myself. When I never did a movie theater by myself, but I did restaurants, you know, took a walk, believe it or not, from like uptown, downtown, see how far I go. But it wasn't so much about the distance. It was more of what was happening in that process, mentally, how I was feeling emotionally. And what am I trying to say by that? How was I feeling stepping into a different zone, away from my hood, away from my environment, away from the people that I'm used to being around, right? Because most of us feel some type of security sticking around the same people, sticking around the same zones, the same environment. But it's equivalent to stepping out of your comfort zone. Think about it. So when I would take that walk from uptown to downtown, I was finding out more about me. I was giving myself more time for me. I was giving my mental state a break from the routine to introduce it to new. And at the time, I didn't know what new was. I was just trying to figure it out. Like, I'm not trying to have that drink right now. Like, I'm trying to think straight. You know, I'm trying to get this job. I'm trying to get my money up. Or what is it that I have to do? You know, let me think. How can I improve my situation? Who am I going to meet on the way down? Who can I possibly meet if I'm eating alone at a restaurant? Not that that was the actual intention, but what if? What if? And it was just stepping out and removing myself and just doing things different that I was just like, it felt good. I did feel some relief. But guess what? On my way back up, this was the challenge. on my way back up, I would be back in the zone, back in that environment. And I got to learn, right? All this is lessons. I got to learn that when you go back, that's when the real challenge is. Are you able to tell someone straight up, you know, nah, I'm busy right now? Are you able to tell someone, I don't really have time for that right now. I gotta, you know, run some errands. I gotta get a few things done. Because believe it or not, at the end of the day, some people will understand. Others are gonna feel some type of way. And those who feel some type of way, and you're expressing yourself, you're communicating it. That's a sign. You did yourself a favor. You did yourself a favor.
Yep.
So you have ways of doing it. You have options. You just have to make the decision and do. You know, we all experience, even it don't matter what point in our life. Like even I experience this on a daily basis, or whenever a new idea comes up, and I know this is a good idea, and I know this is the route that I want to take. Execution. I'm great at having ideas. I'm great at putting things together and giving you the major advice and leading the way and making you feel comfortable in anything you put your mind to. And it sounds like I'm just agreeing with you because I'm gonna give you my opinion. If I think it's not a good idea, I'm gonna give you my opinion. But again, I'm always gonna remind you that's my opinion. Don't let yourself, you know, don't stop yourself from doing it all because of what I'm saying. But I think about all these things and I put information together and I'm like, you know what, this is actually not bad. I should give it a try. But the execution is the hard part because you're putting yourself, you're risking, you are sacrificing, you are making that move yourself. And you are going to.
And you said a key word right there, which is sacrifice. That's the biggest part. It takes something, you know, you are giving something up. Sacrifice is not easy. If it was something easy, it wouldn't be a sacrifice.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So you said the key word right there, sacrifice. And that in reality is the area that most people are struggling because it takes sacrifice.
And the fear.
I mean, think about it, bro, from a health perspective and the fear, right? Like if you think about it from a health perspective, let's take this and bring it into health, right? Somebody that's really struggling with health issues, let's say overweight, right? Not everybody, because I have known people that eat well, right? I have known people that eat well, and no matter what, they have an obscene amount of weight, but it's because of an issue in their body, right? Not talking about them. Not talking about them. But for the most part, or some people that have handicap issues, and as a result, their mobility is not there, and that's caused them to put up weight. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about your average person that has a weight issue. What's the reason? It's what they're eating. They don't want to put down the pizza. They don't want to put down the burger. They don't want to put down the hot dog. They don't want to put down, you know, the bacon, this and that.
The
whatever.
bacon.
They don't want to put down whatever it is, right? The Baconator. It's like, man, I want that triple Whopper though. It's delicious. So as a result, what would be the thing that they need to do in order to change? What would the doctor tell them most of the time? You need to change your diet. If you think about it, what does changing your diet mean? It'll be if they tell you, yo, you need to eat more veggies and you need to eat more this and stop eating, you know, stop drinking the soda and stop doing this and stop doing that. What does that require? The exact word that you said, sacrifice. What is sacrifice? Sacrifice comes down to this. And anything that falls under this is equivalent to sacrifice no matter the area. Sacrifice is, I want whatever, right? I want to do this. I want to eat this. I want to say this. I want to do this. I want to do that. It's about me. I want. Sacrifice is saying, I want, but no. I'm not doing that. Right? For some of us, sacrifice is, I want to tell this person off, but I'm going to shut up because it's not in my best interest to say this right now because it's only going to make it worse. Sacrifice for some is, I want those pair of Jordans. I want that new iPhone. I want that PS5. I want this. I want that. But I'm going to not do it because my finances will be terrible. Sacrifice is, yo, I really know that I shouldn't get with this girl or with this dude. I really shouldn't pay them mind. So I'm going to listen to that and stop listening to what I want to do, right? And really say, that's not for me. I really shouldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? Sacrifice is, yo, you know those drinks or those drugs ain't doing well for you, right? Put the alcohol away. Pour the bottle down the drain. You know, throw the blunt out. You want, but will you do it? Two entirely different things. If you choose not to do it, you're going to stay in the same boat. But if you choose to do it, what's the word? Sacrifice.
Yeah.
I want to,
be
but I'm
followed
not
by execution. Execution. You have to make it happen. You know, we've seen it in when we grew up in our environment, how there's been groups who've led themselves to destruction, right? And of course, you can't always just put the blame on them. You got to we got to look at the big picture. There are things that happened that could have been you. It's the influence that they've been receiving at the time. It's been what they've known growing up, but which is the reason why I wish we had more of this, what we're discussing, right? This platform, because the more open discussions we have about these conditions, about situations in general, it'll help the next person say, I don't want to go down that path. Actually, you know what? That's me. They're talking about me. I have to make it different because I don't want to end up, I don't want to fail. I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to stun my growth. I want to make sure that I'm able to make things happen, not only for me, but I want to have a family one day. I want to be successful. I don't want to hang out in the corner all day. I don't want to hang out with the same group, just consuming, using substances, and really not doing much. I can actually grab a book. I can read. I can learn new things because there's so much that we could have done in the past when we were younger. And again, that's okay. We're not living with regret. What I'm saying is it's okay to travel back in time and think about those moments, but then look at where you're at today. Are you happy with where you're at today? And not always physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, spiritually. And it's never too late to turn things around because you can make it different. You can make those changes. But again, it's execution. It's all up to you. Stop those calls. Stop those texts. Are you going to grab a book? What is it that you have passion for? What is it that you like? Are you going to start putting your focus and your time towards that? Or are you going to continue to receive the same calls, the same texts? Are you going to continue to put yourself in places where you really don't belong because it's not matching with your vision? Sometimes we have to speak to our youths because they think they have all the time in the world. Oh, I'm 15, I'm 16, I got a whole life ahead of me. Not really. You don't know that. You really,
your whole life could be
really
tomorrow.
Don't know if you have a whole life ahead of you. And let's just say, even if you do have a whole life ahead of you, I got to change perspectives around here. If you got a whole life ahead of you and you got these big plans, why not start today? Because you have a whole life ahead of you doesn't mean that you're able to you have all the room to make the mistakes. Mistakes are going to happen regardless. Mistakes are going to happen even when you're doing the right thing. Mistakes are going to happen, but you're going to learn along the way. You're not going to be wasting your time. You're not going to be doing the wrong things. You're not going to be setting yourself up, basically destroying you or others. You're not going to be putting yourself or others at risk if you decide and and tell yourself, you know what? I got to focus on me. I got to focus on my growth. It's okay here and there for me to chill, hang, have a good time. But if I'm going to try and go and accomplish these goals, I think I got to do a little bit of less partying. Because if you got a whole life ahead of you, why not start today, making those moves, and then you can start having your fun and partying later on, whenever you reach that goal or specific goals. Because coming from experience, right, at the age that I am today, man, I'd be looking back and I'm not gonna lie, I'd be thinking to myself, like, if I knew what I knew today, then things would have been so different. But then I'm super grateful for those mistakes in the past and for who I was before, because it's also the reason why I'm where I'm at today. So if the whole point of what
Facts.
we're doing, Pastor Carlos and I, is to shape and mold the youth, but at the same time to heal the grown, the adults, shaping, molding, healing in general. Because once again, it's never too late. And the more we focus on the outreach, on reaching out to those, thank God for technology and for the access, nowadays. Before, this wasn't even possible, before Zoom. Just think about these topics that couldn't really be so easy to come across, because it's either you attended a session, you attended a specific conference, a mass. It was the only way
Yep.
for you to receive this information. But thank God for technology, you're able to receive it with the click of a button, all through multiple apps. You have the access through Instagram, through YouTube, through Facebook, those who do their thing on Twitter, those who do their things on all the other social media apps that's out there. It's there. The same way before, it was hard for you to obtain specific information based on things that you wanted to search for. I'm talking about before Google. You would have to go to a library. You would have to go to someone who's already gone through that process, or who's had that vision, or who a mentor who can pass that textbook over to you, or folders with papers and notes. Now, with a click, you have all the information in front of you, so you can always get a head start. Listen, even it doesn't always have to be a profession. It can be personal development in general. You have access to information. You have access to individuals who are willing to be a mentor. You have people who are willing to give a session, therapy, a discussion, a simple conversation that'll take you a long way, that'll just change your whole perspective, your whole mindset. You have it right in front of you. But most of you choose to do otherwise. Most of you choose to do the same thing, afraid to break the routine, afraid to do things different because of how others are going to look at you or what they're going to say about you. You got to forget that. You got to put out all that behind you. Got to put all that behind you, because what's in front of you is a lot bigger than what's behind. What's in front of you is a lot bigger than what's behind you. All that stuff that happened to you, that you went through, is in your past. That's history. And if you ever bring it to present, it's because you're bringing it to life through conversation. It's time to leave it behind. And I even think, I've been reading and watching stories on the most successful people, and just successful people in general. Like even those that you know nothing about, that aren't just celebrities, like people like us, just regular. They're really quiet about their accomplishments. They're millionaires, thousandaires. Most importantly, forget about status. They're financially free. And they always tell their side of the story, that it hasn't been easy. The sacrifices that need the sacrifices that you have to make in order to get there, the risks that you're supposed to take, what you're supposed to be doing with your time. You know, of course, the people that are putting the information out there, they benefit from it, right? Because nowadays with streaming, you get paid. But so what? The information is there. I remember back then, I used to be out late, man. I used to break night. I also think I wish I was breaking night going through books. I wish I was breaking night learning the stock market. I wish I was breaking night going towards whatever goal I had that took me a few years to accomplish. That goal financially that I've been wanting to reach in the past that I was unable to because I was worried about the wrong things. I was spending money where I wasn't supposed to be spending. I was spending amounts that I wasn't supposed to be spending. All because it's what we saw, what we knew. But we had no one pumping the brakes. So like, whoa, 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 whoa. I mean, we probably did and we weren't listening. But I'm talking about the people that we were with, that we were hanging with. That some are still doing the same thing today. Some are still doing the same thing today. You know? And we've been dealing with obstacles all along because of our past habits or because of the habits that we have right now today that we've chosen to disregard, to not give any attention to it when you're supposed to be facing it all the way, to remove that habit, replace it with a better habit. So are you willing to do the things that you need to do? Are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to set these goals? I haven't mentioned this in a long time now that I'm talking about goals. But most of us are also dealing with many obstacles. And we're probably in a situation right now because we choose to try and control the things that we have no control over. And I know I've said this many times in past episodes, but it's been a while. Grab a piece of paper and make a list of the things that you can control and make a list of the things that you cannot control and cross out what you cannot control completely and focus on what you can control. So I can give you a perfect example and a quick example. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. My goal is to make $100,000 a year, 200, whatever your dollar amount is, to quit smoking, to minimize on the drinking, to stop going out every weekend, hoping that this person stops mistreating me. They've been doing it for so long. Stopping this person from acting the way that they act. Stopping this person from treating others unfairly. With everything I just finished mentioning, what are you able to control? You'll know what you can control and what you can't control. Cross that out, and it's 1, 2, or 3 less things to worry about because you got 4 others to worry about on the other side. But now all your focus is on that. All your focus is on that.
Yep.
And just taking it one day at a time, because it's very easy to get desperate. Along the way, there's going to be a lot of learning that's going to take place, lessons, a lot of things that a lot of people fail to discuss is the emotions that are going to be attached to these situations, right? Because of the situations, anything that you'll go through, knowing how to manage those emotions, because that determines your reaction, the decision that you'll make in the moment. Emotional intelligence is the best way to put it. I guess a short way to put it. Really try not to get desperate. Take your time with it, whatever it is that you want to accomplish. If you try and make changes, improvements, you're trying to grow, and it doesn't work out the first try, keep going, because there's a lot of things that take a lot of work. Because again, remember, we're going through generational curses. We're going through reversals of things that we've learned in the past. We're going through breaking old habits, bringing in new habits. It's a lot that we do on a daily, aside from our responsibilities, right? The bills that we have to pay, the things that come up, you know, even when we don't want it. We all know that when things are going great, we're always expecting like, hey, what's the catch? Like, this is too good to be true. What's going to be the next thing that's going to pop up? What's going to be the next obstacle? The whole thing is just be patient, be extremely patient. Have faith. Definitely have faith in everything that you decide to do. I don't care from big to small. Like, patience and faith apply in all areas and in all situations. Because once again, that determines our reaction and our decision. Many of us can agree that our reactions and decisions have been the major cause of the situations that we've been in, the situations that we are in today, and the problems that we've been coming across, in general. So it's time to learn from that and do it different. Change that. For most of you, man, my mouth is the problem. And just learn how to keep it shut, Learn how to keep it shut. My mouth is the problem. Learn how to filter, Learn how to filter, because we all know that there's things that are expressed, and most of the time, we're not able to take it back. We're not able to take it back. So if that's a problem, know how to address it, change it, do things differently. And you'll see change. You'll see change. Once again, in the beginning of the episode, I said change. Some will take a few minutes. Others will take a few days, weeks, months, sometimes even years. But it's never too late.
Yep. And, if you feel like you can't make changes because you're like, man, that just takes a lot. Again, the sacrifice takes a lot. It's painful.
Gonna be battles on both ends.
Breaking the habits. Exactly. Just remember, when you're weak, that's where the Lord shows his strength. If you put him in the middle of all of that, if you are weak, wherever you are weak, the Lord is going to be your strength. I can't tell you how many times I have seen it. I have lived it. If you are weak, he makes you strong. But you got to put him in the middle of it, and ask him for direction in terms of what he wants to change. And just remember, that's sacrifice. And I'm going to give you guys a verse real quick that has a lot to do with sacrifice. Hebrews 13:16 says, do not neglect to do good and to share what you have, for such sacrifices are pleasing to God. So notice, in those sacrifices, what do you need to do in order to sacrifice? Like, what does that seem to be, synonymous with? Doing good and sharing what you have. And sharing what you have is something that we touched upon earlier here, but doing good, that's part of it as well. So when you're making these changes and you're like, man, this sacrifice is painful, but it's something that you're doing that's good. So if you put in the Lord in the middle of that, believe me, he is going to go ahead and make you weak whenever you are strong. You just got to stick with it. Put him in the middle of it. Pray. Trust me, it's going to pan out. It is absolutely going to pan out. Don't give up. The enemy wants you to give up. Believe me, Jay Mejia and I have seen it. there's so many things that we've had thrown at us that it's like you could tell that it's just like he just wants you to throw in the towel, tap out, give up. And it's like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not, you know. Um, so just be willing to do that sacrifice, man. It's it's going to be for the best. Um, and again, it can be in all areas of your life. It might be something you got to sacrifice because of health. It might be a relationship that you have to sacrifice. It might have to be your pride that you have to sacrifice. It might have to be something at work. Um, it might be something financial. It could go up and down the road. There's so many different things that it can be. Bring it to the Lord. Have him show you, what do I need to sacrifice because this is not panning out. This is not working for me. Put him in the middle of it. And when you start sacrificing, he will make you strong wherever you're weak. And I tell you this to you guys because I go back to something that somebody told us early on. Nah, but that's easy for you guys. Like a lot of people can't do that. Everybody can do that. I don't want to hear that excuse. This is not to make anybody feel bad, but everybody can sacrifice when it's something that's going to benefit you, when it's something that the Lord is showing you, like there's so much more for you, but you got to let this die. You got to sacrifice this, and you don't want to. Yes, you can. You can do it. If you don't think you could do it, I'll give you a very basic example. A lot of us don't deal with addictions, but there is some of us who do. If you go and you tell an alcoholic or a drug addict, yo, stop doing drugs. Stop. You're an alcoholic. You shouldn't be drinking any alcohol, period, because you're an alcoholic. They will tell you, I can't live without it. Like they have to hit rock bottom to a lot of times go through that sacrifice. You know what I'm saying? In some cases, I've seen alcoholics. I've heard testimonies of alcoholics that will say, I can't even be around anybody who's drinking. I can't put myself in a situation where I see alcohol or I smell alcohol because that's going to lead to a downward spiral and I'll die, But when the first step was being taken, it was a thing of, I can't do this. But if you look now, a lot of them will tell you, I didn't think I could do it, but I can. And for some of them, it's an ongoing process, It's an ongoing process. So if somebody like that can do it, believe me, you can put the bacon double cheeseburger down. Trust, you can, you can choose to not buy that iPhone, or you can choose to not buy those Jordans. Trust me, you can stop eating out. You can decide to not take that trip that that you can't afford and you put it on the credit card. You know what I'm saying? You can do it. And it won't matter what anybody else has to say. You can do it. Got to be willing to do it. Let's go.
Yeah, if there's anyone that wants to go ahead and join the live, if there's anyone that wants to put out that testimony live, please feel free to send a request.
Yep.
Anyone that wants to drop a message in the comment, really thank everyone for joining us. Really.
Or if anybody needs prayer too, put it down there. Again, if you want to keep that anonymous, hit the little question mark in the speech bubble there, and that will hit Jay Mejia directly. So you don't have to, you don't have to worry about that everybody else is going to see it. We always keep that anonymous because we respect the fact that you want to say something, but you want to keep it anonymous.
Thanking everyone on Facebook, YouTube who's watching us for taking the time. As you know, we are on every Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 7:30 p.m. Central Time, and 5:30 p.m. Pacific Time, West Coast. Really quick,
Coast.
While we wait to see if anyone wants to go ahead and join in, I do have a link in my bio. Please, if you can, take a look at the links that I have there. Two out of the many links that I do have are the emailing list and text messaging list for future notifications. Promise it's not going to be any spam. It's only going to be for updates, notifications in general on the platform. Pretty soon we'll be transitioning over, as we mentioned in the past, and we will no longer be streaming through Instagram, right? It'll be through YouTube. What we like about YouTube is the fact that we have
Right.
anyone, they have access to YouTube and you don't need to sign in, right? There's no need to have an account. You'll have access to our live. Right now, we don't have an official name for the channel, but if you search Joaquin and Carlos project, Untitled Project,
Untitled
you'll
Project,
find it there.
you'll
It'll
find
pop
it.
up. We have all the episodes there. Shortly after the live is over, the episodes are uploaded immediately. So
Yeah, you see
yeah,
them within seconds. So it's there, and if you do YouTube, it's very easy to go ahead and it's very easy to go ahead and share it as well. And the beauty with YouTube is that you don't need to worry about somebody needing Facebook, somebody needing Instagram. You can send it through text. You can send it through WhatsApp. You could send it through the messaging app of your choice. You know, if you somebody that's even using something that not many people are using, like Telegram or whatever, it does not matter how how you want to share it. You could put it out there. You need to send it through smoke signals.
yeah, exactly.
I'm sure there's a way. I'm just saying, there's a way. Believe that. So
Definitely, Metatron, what's going on, man? Thank you for the badge. Appreciate that, man.
oh yeah, good
And
looking out
always
on the
supporting, man. I
badge. That's a
appreciate that. Keep
blessing.
going hard. He said, definitely, man. We're not stopping. We're not stopping. Same thing goes to you. He's an artist doing his thing with the music. He's been going hard himself. You can tell by the quality of music that he does release. And I'm not just saying that because he's always supporting the platform. It's real. And I'm not the only one that says that either. So definitely check him out. Check him out. I saw that DJ June was dropping a promo for the event January 19th. DJ June is a DJ. He's been around for a minute. Major influence in the industry. He does know multiple artists, and he's always in all the events. He's also like a huge promoter, major. So definitely check out his page. He got Urban FTV. He got the DJ June official page. He also has the FTV radio. Check him out. Good peoples, man. Good peoples. Let me see if we're missing any messages in the chat.
Yeah, scroll
I think
through.
yeah,
I think
we're
we
good
should
with
be
the
good money
messages.
with the
Yep.
messages.
Just saw a few. I'm trying to help out any artists as I can reach. Send some to me. I'll put them up. We'll do for sure. Definitely for sure, man. Another
Well,
one.
good looking out with another
Thanks,
badge.
man.
Appreciate it,
Appreciate
brother.
that, bro. Thank you. Yeah. And another thing with the badge, again, for those who are able to make a donation by buying the badge, you're supporting the platform. You appreciate the platform. Once again, you're not obligated to make that donation to send over the tip. You're not obligated at all, but it's always appreciated, right? If you can, great. If you can't, we completely understand. We definitely completely understand. And it doesn't have to be today. It can be whenever you connect with us or whenever you see us on the live in general. But again, you have the opportunity to do so every Thursday.
Facts.
I think we're good.
And again, for for the people that need to know about the badges, we, just a status update. We've shared this a number of different times. To date, we have not touched not a penny of the badge money. Why? We're waiting on however the Lord tells us to use that money. It might be needed to go ahead and bless somebody. It might be needed to go ahead and help someone's moment of need, whatever it might be. We want to make sure that in the moment that it's necessary for whatever he's called us to use it for, that the money that we've received in the badges is there for that sole purpose. So just so you guys know, this is not something that it's like, oh, every time we get the badges, we put the money in our pocket and do whatever we want. Nah, we've been purposely storing it up for however God, directs us to be able to help somebody. That money's going to be there. It's part of, supplying for the needs of the people that God puts in our heart to go ahead and help. So it's, we take that serious. It's legit. So to date, we have not spent not a penny of that, not touched a penny of that. It has not come out of the account. There will be a day, but it's not that time right now.
Definitely. Paper, I think we're good. No requests to get on. It's always a way to support the platforms, a comment, a like, a share. It's all support, definitely, yeah. And one thing that I like too, even Pastor Carlos one time, we've mentioned for people to go ahead and post on the comment, if you have a business, anything you got going on, drop it in the comments for other people to view. You never know who's going to come across that's in need of that service or in need of networking, just meeting new people, stepping into a whole different zone. Drop the comment. Jael, we had, who got on, she promoted her business, a teacher. She has her homeschooling. She has her podcast, which is amazing, especially with the news I received. 20,000 downloads, I believe, one episode out of all the episodes she has.
Yeah, something like that. She's had some that have been large numbers, man.
And mind you, so she does it when she has the chance. So imagine putting all her focus on it. It's major already. So imagine if she was to put all her focus. But again, we have so much going on, so many responsibilities that sometimes those responsibilities take over our passion, right? We can't give as much time as to the things that we want to get done. But again, we're not getting desperate. We're not in competition with no one but ourselves, right? And no one but ourselves. Yep. So that's why we take our time with it. And all we are concerned about is to release good, worthy content. That's it. Quality. We're not here to do numbers, right? Numbers are important, of course. They are. We have to tell the truth. But it's not the reason why we're on here. It's not. It's our purpose. It's our purpose, right? We keep doing exactly what we're here to do. There's a reason why we're here at this time, and I'm not talking about 10 o'clock at night. I mean, in general, there's a reason why Pastor Carlos and I are doing this. We see how slowly the whole mental health movement is making its way into the industry, music industry, and just the industry in general. It's making its way in. But we've been doing this. We've been talking about this. Our intent is, I don't even know how to describe it, honestly. It's pure. You have no idea how we really, really feel about what we're pushing here, the topics that we're discussing, why it is that, we're so transparent, because we know how much it can help others just grow, develop, most importantly, help others heal, because that's the thing. There's going to be many things you're going to go through that we know nothing about unless you discuss it. But we're telling you that it's okay to discuss it. So I see Jael there. It was 20,000. So 20,000 total over the whole time I've had the podcast. God is good. Amen. Yes, he is. Yes, he is, Jael. Congrats once again.
It's a blessing, man. Absolute blessing.
There we go. Actually, before we disconnect, Pastor Carlos, he does his thing. He preaches, right? You have the youth service, preaching every Sunday, every other Sunday. Definitely check his page out.
I preach some. Yeah, I preach some Sundays. You can, if you haven't subscribed to
Yeah.
the Instagram, you can go ahead and do that. For those that do follow me, this Sunday, I will be preaching at our church. If you do want to go ahead and check that out, that's 10 o'clock Central, which is 11 o'clock Eastern, which is 8 o'clock Pacific. So if you're on the West Coast, you can start your morning with a good message, because I know the Lord's got something major planned. But if you want to go ahead and catch that, if you follow me on Facebook, you can go ahead and you'll see that I usually will share the service there. If you want to catch it on YouTube, just once you wrap up, search on YouTube. It's Intensa Church. So it's like intense in English, but it's in Spanish. So instead of an E at the end of intense, it's an A. Intensa Church. You can go ahead and subscribe. And yeah, you'll be able to catch the message there this coming Sunday. So God is good, giving me a powerful message for this weekend. I'm thankful for what he's given me in terms of the message. I'm thankful that he gives the download. It's a blessing. And it'll be something that people need to hear. You know, if he's not in it, I don't want to preach it. It has nothing to do with it. So let him be the one to move this weekend. But y'all can go ahead and catch it. I'm sure it'll bless your lives, because if it's coming from him, believe me, it's going to bless your life.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So I think we're good, big bro. We've got the message across, hopefully.
Yeah, we're looking clear
Facebook,
on
YouTube.
Instagram and Facebook. We're good to
Really
go there.
appreciate everyone who took the time today to watch, to listen to a great message that came straight from God through us. Always remember, pray heavy. Always remember, just keep pushing. Don't give up. Keep going. No matter what, no matter what's been said to you. If you're down, get back up. Obstacles that present themselves, just the obstacles come and go. Just remember to push through. You know, never stop. Even if you're happy or comfortable with what you've been receiving, always keep working for better, keep doing better. As long as you're at peace and you're happy, you know, happiness is the most important part. Happiness, because you can have everything in the world, but if you're not at peace, if you're not happy, then all else doesn't really matter. Same thing with health. You know, for birthdays, if I'm ever congratulating someone, I always add on an extra message, wishing them the best moving forward, because we all know we're here and we're going to accomplish so much. We're destined to accomplish so much, and it never stops, right? We should never get comfortable. So again, I'm wishing everyone the best. I would wish everyone joy, happiness, strength, patience. But the most important thing that I always bring up is health, because without health, there's nothing, right? Health in general.
Yep.
Health in general. So keep pushing, and just remember, patience is a virtue, and faith is the substance. Once again, patience is the virtue, and faith is the substance. Appreciate you all. We'll see you next week. Don't forget Thursdays, every Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 7:30 p.m. Central Time, and 5:30 p.m. Pacific Time, West Coast. Hope everyone has a great night.
West Coast.
A blessed week, and we will see you all next week. God bless. Take care.
God bless you guys.